Stage. Didn't see it. So annoying. But half the time 32 cores are compiling, and then the other half of the time 1. Okay, it compiled. So now, then what? I have my set. Hi. So I can use this set to store descriptor set layout bindings. Not really useful though. Is it useful? It's not even useful. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I get a bit distracted sometimes by streaming, although the idea is that it keeps me concentrated. But in general, I try not to be influenced by the fact that I'm streaming, except that I keep being more or less concentrated. So that means that there can be, long silences or just hours of super boring stuff. Whatever is needed to get my program working. But if there's a nice viewer like you, then I can make it a little bit more interesting by explaining out loud what I'm doing. And hello, Sir Hi, if I say that correctly. You're not disturbing me. No, the disturbance is mostly by seeing seeing the number of viewers and then taking that into account. Like just starting to do things different than what I would do when I was alone. And I don't think that's the idea, at least not for me. One of the most painful things in my streaming is that as soon as I start to talk to people, especially when I start to explain things, they leave. At this Pavlov reaction of me. I'm really hesitating into stopping coding and then instead starting to explain things. Because my experience is that people leave without saying anything as soon as I start to explain something. Really weird. But okay, I'll try it anyway. I'm trying to fix I think it must be in the history here somewhere, something with fix me. This one. I'm trying to fix this fix me. So I have layouts. Well, a pipeline layout, okay, but it's more complicated than that. This block is horrible. It just stores all the new pipeline layouts that I created in a static array, incrementing some atomic pointer every time we have a new one. So there's a maximum of 10 that I can fit. But the only test program that I have now is storing 2 of them. But in the end, I want to store them in a, well, what I call here a database, but well, it's some kind of STL container, I guess. In the logical device class, that would be good. And like I said, it's a lot more complicated than just storing pipeline layouts because I have to compare them. So, what defines a pipeline layout? Well, a pipeline layout is constructed here. It's just a handle, a vulkan handle. So that's just a hexadecimal value with no meaning. Opaque handle, as they call it. So I'll have to look at what is being used to create it. Now, if you feel the urge to leave or because I'm explaining things, please do me a favor and type in the chat why. Because maybe then I start to understand why people leave when I explain things. So the pipeline is created from 2 things, the descriptor set layouts and push constant ranges. Now ignoring the last one for a moment. I would need to compare the vector of the descriptor set layouts that I have here in order to know if the pipeline is different from the previous pipeline. In fact, I should do the comparison of the descriptor set layout handles or even before that actually. But I should say if I would only compare this thing here, so it's exists of a vector of VK descriptor set layout handles. I should do the compare here, and then if it already exists in the database, I should use that and not create a new pipeline. In this case, I always create a new pipeline and then just store it. But then you get the same thing. I cannot compare handles, just I cannot compare the pipeline layout handle, I cannot compare the descriptor set layout handles. So instead of doing a compare here on the handles, I have to do a compare on whatever information was used to create the descriptor set layout handles. And those are being created in... Do we have another window? Because that's far, far away. That's the same window, right? I should have another window that is here. Nope. This one. Nope. This one. Switch profile to YouTube. Oh, thank you, JG 3500. Yeah, like I just said, I feel a bit hesitant to start to explain things to people because my experience is that they leave if I do that. But then a comment like yours maybe will encourage me again instead to talk out loud, put more time into telling viewers things that you can actually learn from then, I guess, instead of just working. So YouTube now told me that I went from 3 viewers to 1 viewer, and I asked to tell me when people would leave, why they would leave. Because now I have the feeling if 2 people left in the time that between that I started to explain and this point, why did they leave? I can only imagine that it is because I started to explain things. I don't know. Who is still watching? No, I have 2 concurrent viewers again, so maybe new people joined. I don't know. Yeah, also in the chat, JG. Just a guy joined called Esworld Uzumaki, and he said, "You seem like a cool guy. I enjoyed your last video." Blah blah blah. So I said what I just said, that people now I have 0 concurrent viewers. JG, are you still here? Are you still watching? Is there anything wrong with my video, my voice? Yeah, what I had is I put a window over the number of viewers, so I could not see how many viewers I have. Maybe I should do that. But if I look at it and YouTube is right, and then it's just a fact that the viewers leave. Even at the moment I am explaining things out loud. So I mean, if you watch this at all, and I'm explaining directly to the viewer what I'm doing and how things are working, and then you leave, and I just ask to explain to me, yeah, you are, but I think this Eswold left, and I asked him to tell me when he would leave, and he didn't. So no, I don't really. Okay, I'm gonna put a window again over the number of viewers. But I can also not see when people leave the chat, so it's really annoying if I waste my time talking to nobody, of course. Yes, 1 viewer. Pickpocket, are you still watching? So both Pickpocket and JG, are you both still watching? I mean, see my mouse move? Now either there's a huge lag or you are both in the chat. But you're not hearing me. Oh yes, well there must be at least a whole minute lag then. If you're both still watching, YouTube is telling me that they had 0 viewers. 0. At this moment, 0 viewers. Concurrent viewers, 0. And you 2 are both still watching? So then the whole counter is wrong. It doesn't count you. Fuck this. Nee, Dankmaster. I'm gonna put a window over this counter, so at least I cannot see now how many viewers I have. Okay, I'll continue with the explanation then. So the problem is I want to, instead of creating a new pipeline, create pipeline layout, well, not pipeline, but pipeline layout, I want to know if I already have a pipeline like that. And that means that I have to look up in a STL container, I guess, if whatever I used to create that layout, if that was already done before. But this is also a handle. So instead of looking at the handles, I should look at what was used to create this. And that happens here in window.h, I think. I think here somewhere I have a create something, create descriptor set layout here. And there is also a fix me here. Basically the same fix me. So this creates a handle. It is a unique handle. And then I dereference it with a star here. So I get the actual vulkan handle, which then pushed back into a vector called MVHV, and then that one is grabbed here. I should make this default, I guess. So that's copied here and then used to create the pipeline layout. And the descriptor set layout is created from this vector. And that vector contains descriptor set layout binding structures, vulkan structures. And what I just did was make a database that can store that. I'm not sure how useful that is, because what I really want to store is everything. So a whole vector of those things. Right? Yes. But in order to compare one vector with another vector, I need it to be sorted. So instead of using a vector, I use a set. Or maybe I should use a vector and then sort it anyway, but I think I can do that. Now this vector is going to be generated. So the generated vector is kind of a vector then containing data that I need. And then I have to look it up in the database if it already exists. So before I can do that, I have to sort the vector. Sort the vector, yeah. Now, this is still hard-coded, but I'm going to keep the hard-coded stuff for the moment. However, I am already going to sort them. But yeah, as you see, I have 3 of those and 3 here. And suppose they are already in the cache, then this function might as well return existing layout handle then. Which then is no longer a unique handle. So maybe I should just return I'm a bit hesitant. I was going to say maybe we should just return a vulkan handle here instead of a unique thing. This is type a unique descriptor set layout. And without unique, it is a handle. Because they are kept alive anyway then inside the logical device. But this function is specifically a wrapper around the vulkan API to create the descriptor set layout. So instead of calling this function, I should probably call something else, which then calls this function in return. Okay, let's assume that this is now a normal handle. And I'm calling a function of the owning window. Well, oh yeah, owning window. Because it needs to access the database in the logical device. I can call something on the logical device itself, maybe. Doesn't really matter, I guess. Although I put a cache in the logical device, better than in the window. I might have two windows open with the same view, and then I still want them to share the same cache. So instead of create descriptor set layout, now I want to have a function that either creates it or gets an existing one. Now finding a name for such a function is difficult, but the standard has something, the C++20 standard has something like it. So maybe I can, oops, no, went too far. Can I do a shift tab? Yes. I think they added it to, for example, standard map. See, try in place. That is inserts in place if the key does not exist. Does nothing if the key exists, but it does not just nothing, it returns then the value. So try in place returns a iterator. So the word try is the new way to name that, I guess. So I'm going to do try could use in place as well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll rename it in the future. Now this doesn't work anymore really, because the debug name of this thing, if it creates it, actually creates a new one and inserts it in the cache, then this is not the correct debug name, because this is not even a unique pointer anymore. I think we don't have a debug name anymore, not at this level. So the call is going to become this. And I'm going to have to get the same thing for the other ones. And this is no more. And they are no longer unique pointers, but actually vulkan handles. Oh, I have this, and I've got the name still. What is it? And it's on the tip of my tongue. Convention, I think. Yeah, that's a good word. I have the convention to use VH for variables that are vulkan handles, and VHV for vulkan handle vectors. So now we just have vulkan handles instead of unique things, which I have to dereference to get the vulkan handle. Let's see if I use somewhere else as well. Yep, here. I have to think that this also should change. But okay, that's for later, I guess. Vulkan handle, vulkan handle, vulkan handle. And no more unique. That should do it, but now I still have to write this function, of course. Try and place descriptor set layout. Function of owning window. An owning window is a synchronous window. Oh, it's a task. Really? Oh, it is all. Sorry, it's always a task. It's always a task. So yeah, this one. These are members, and then we get. When I scroll, it's even blurry for myself, so it's not pleasant to look at, I guess. Yeah, that's another recurrent problem, where to put new class member functions. As you can see, I kind of made a mess of it. It's not clear at all. I think I kind of prefer to put it as low as possible, so that I have them more or less in the order that they are written, which also coincides largely with the order in which they are used. Although the latter would be more important, I think. So I think that's going to be here, behind detect. Well, this is about pipelines. Might as well add them here. And these are the virtual functions. They can be at the bottom. It's a big class. So task implementation, the virtual functions, definitions. Yeah, this also has to. This is being called from a pipeline factory. This function. So let's just add it here. And it's returning a handle, right? Descriptor. Sam Gloss. Hi. Descriptor set. And we're passing a vector of vk. It's not a descriptor set layout handle. And I'm passing a descriptor set layout description, or what was it? I've got, well, apparently not this, but then I've got an O and an R here. Nope. Anyway, const reference or reference? I have to sort it. Might as well pass it by value. How ugly. Okay then, our reference. I need to know the name. What is the name of this thing? This is the type. Did I? Okay, now I have to look at what I had. Descriptor. Okay, this is what it has to be. So what did I miss? I think I just added nonsense. No, I'm not missing anything. I just added this descript. Oh yeah, there is an R missing. But the whole description is wrong. Yeah, let's be that. The descriptor is at the no, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, does it? This is the handle. Maybe you're right. I think you're right. I'll have to go back. Control T. Because yes, that's not the vector that I need. I needed to create the point where I'm creating the layouts. That was here. The top layout bindings. This is it. Finally I have it. Jesus. Descriptor set layout binding. So I used this description without an R, but it should have been binding. Now, if I had a perfect memory, I would not have wasted my and your 5 minutes with this. I would just have known that it was binding because I saw it a few seconds before that. I wrote it. Oh no, next. Undo, redo to jump to where I was. Delete it again because it has to be that with binding. Finally we have it. And then I could call this descriptor set layout binding with an S because it's a vector. I think there's going to be a big thing, so let's just put it in the .cxx file. And indeed, let's say called by, called from. I think the word is the pipeline characteristic. Why? I have to switch back again. Pipeline characteristic. Yeah, okay. Okay. Now let's put it below pipeline factory then, which should exist here. Although below that is have new pipeline, which kind of belongs to that. Pipeline done. I'm just adding it here, I guess. All that time just to add some framework, not even real coding. But okay, so what I wanted to do was sort this vector, but now it's an R value, I have to move it. So let's Go back to the synchronous window. I go back, I am in my and this is window H. Oops, damn it. What I can also do is run make ctext again. And then I can jump to it even. But yeah, I'm gonna move these things, standard move. Because I don't really want to pass this vector by value when I can help it. And I also cannot pass it as a const reference because I want to sort it. So the most logical thing is then to move the vector, which then at least does not allocate new memory. And then afterwards these things are empty. But I'm not using them below this. Now I can assure myself that I do not use them again to make them a lot more local, like this. But they are going to be generated, I mean like this. But they are going to be generated anyway, right? So, shall I do it now? At the very least I need a fix me here, I think. Let's see, fix me. Right, and then you have the vectors here. Now I want to sort them, which I think for a vector is just a standard sort. And now I don't know how it works, so then I have to look it up. Standard sort, certainly not with my custom compare thing. Sort, begin, end, I had that right. Or first, last, and then compare. Okay, that's all, and it returns nothing. Oh. We can work with that. Execution policy. What the hell is that? That would be 3. No, this 3 has a... Execution policy is 4. Same as 1.3, but executed according to policy. These overloads do not participate in overload resolution unless is execution policy, standard blah blah execution policy is true. I have no idea what that is. Parallel policy. The execution policy type used as a unique type to disambiguate parallel algorithm overloading and indicate that the parallel algorithm execution may be parallelized. And what is being parallelized here? Using multiple threads or using power assembly instructions? Yeah, threads apparently. Hmm. Well, these are small vectors, and I really don't like it when that would create new threads. Definitely not. So I guess that if I use the default, it's or the other one, it's not doing anything special. So I'm going to use simply number 3. Wouldn't it be nice to have an example? Yeah, you have to create it and make it temporary of that thing. Descriptor. And I forgot how I called it. Compare something. Beats me. No idea. I could have switched to this. Or not. Descriptor. Layout binding compare. Doop, 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 doop. So like that. The sort sits an algorithm. Which I already have. But I do not have the descriptor yet. Of course I forgot the name again. Descriptor. Now let's see if this compiles before I continue. We are not in namespace vulkan. It compiles. Okay, well, I sorted it, so now it's easier to compare them, I guess. At least 2 vectors then. So now I have to compare one vector with vectors from my cache. Now, what was the name of the cache again? Also cannot remember. I stored something in a logical device. All those classes are getting so big that scrolling is not feasible anymore. Well, this one's definitely not big. That's a real one. Oh, I found it. That is basically, the idea was that this was my cache, but it's storing, no. So in the end, I would want it to store here a vector, but man, this is going to be slow. I already found it. Well, this is using a layout binding compare, but I don't want to store the. I don't want to store this. Or do I? It's also confusing. I don't know what I want. Well, anyway, currently I have a vector with these things. And I don't want a set actually. I want a map, and then this vector is the key. I still need to use this compare vector to compare these things, I think. Because I still need an ordering now, if it is a map. The confusing part is that and normally you would just use a hash map and then calculate the hash of everything. And if you calculate the hash of the vector quickly, if you calculate the vector is small, I guess. So if you calculate the hash of the descriptor set layout binding struct quickly, then you can also rather quickly calculate the hash of the vector, and then you just look things up by hash value. But that completely makes it impossible to compare anything that is almost the same and not quite. Because if it is a little bit different, then bang, the hash is completely different. And in the end, I want to compare things and then see that they are almost the same, but not quite. That is why I do not want to use a hash, but I want to use the full thing. And that's why I want to sort them in a certain way, so that things that look alike and are maybe reusable, despite that they are a little bit different, are close together. That was the whole idea. However, I have absolutely no idea how the details of this at all. So even though I'm not using a hash and I'm using this sorting, I'm now implementing something that treats any little difference as being completely different. But the result is really awkward, slow, because I'm not using a hash. And it doesn't make any sense because I'm not looking at almost equal yet. But let's do it anyway. So I'm just using this vector as a key. And then I guess I'll just store the handle. So I don't know about that yet, but I'll type the answer to that DEXI. All the really good coders started at 12. I'm semi-serious. But don't let that stop you. If you're fanatic enough and it's your whole life and you don't have any social life, you never go out, no friends, and you just sit behind your computer, you might just get there anyway. I surely have no life. I do absolutely nothing else than sit behind my computer. If I don't sit behind my computer, I'm sleeping or getting groceries or yeah, stuff like that. I'm trying to remember why I started coding. I started coding because it was just interesting. It was super interesting. It just grabbed me. So who cares if you can get good? You should get behind that computer and start coding because it's fun to do right at that moment. Do what you like. Don't do drugs. That's stupid. Really stupid. I think I'm gonna store VK. There's actually an interesting YouTube that I have to think about now, which is, I wanted to tell you something, and then I thought, hey, but that YouTube is about it as well. Let me see if I can find that back. I have to go to YouTube. Here's a YouTube. I didn't watch it yet completely. Let me create a new one. YouTube.com. I think it was written by Veritasium. You see, now here you see my life. Things that I watch. Chess, crypto, politics. What? Music to put you in a better mood. Okay. Veritasium, yeah. It's an interesting thing, but it's kind of political though. For me, I don't see it. No, I thought that would be easy to find, but I cannot find it quickly. Maybe it was an old one, so it's not somewhere in the front. Although I don't think it was. This one. So that link, that video explains something that is related to what I wanted to say. If you start doing something like coding, you have to get exhausting. If you want to learn something, it must be unpleasant. So you want something, and don't stop when you get tired. If you understand what I mean, you must really work hard in your brain. If you just keep everything easy and your concentration is gone within minutes, and then you stop because you start to do something else, you will not get good. You have to put hard work into it. Hard work as in thinking very hard and getting tired. Your brain cannot get full. It's entirely the opposite. The more you use your brain, the better it gets. So there is absolutely no reason to stop when you get tired. Although there are ways to keep breaks, you work 3/4 of an hour and then have a 10-minute break or something like that. Because it's if at some point you are so tired that you really cannot do anything anymore, then of course it's better to keep a break and get some more energy, but don't make the breaks hours, I did teach C++ to highly gifted school dropouts for a while, as a volunteer. And these kids had mostly psychological problems, and therefore they could not, and for other reasons, they did not fit in the normal schooling system. So they just didn't work at school. And it made them extra sick, till the point that they just didn't go anymore. They just sit at home. Some started cutting themselves or attempted suicide or got panic attacks, even at the thought at school. And they were recovering in some kind of institution, and then there they had things to do, completely voluntary. So I was there in one of the many rooms, and I was teaching C++ to them. And then they could come or they could not come. So it was, relaxed for them. And what I just told you, I told them as well, because it's true. It really doesn't work if you give up too soon. Now, what was it called? I'm just gonna store what happens? The descriptor set layouts handle. Does this look correct? I think so, because the descriptor set layout handles are created from purely and only a vector of this. So this is the input and that's the output. And if I remember correctly, it was the logical device that did that. So we have a member of the logical device called create descriptor set layout. So yeah, logical device. And this function, yeah, the binding is the element of the vector, and that goes into the input. See, so this is the input, and this is the output. This returns a unique descriptor set, so that's what I want to store. Oopsie. Now we can go back again to what I edited in the logical device header. I don't know how to get there. Logical device, I'll have to type it again. And then jump there, where was a lot of jumps. From buffer logical device. Yeah, this here, yeah, there's this here somewhere. Undo, no. Is it the header? So yeah, it was unique, right? So I have it in my mouse buffer, maybe saver. Yeah. Because this is the cache, so I really want to store something that keeps them alive. As long as this exists, it exists, and if this is destructed, then it destructs the descriptor set layout as well. So what we want to do now is I want to find in that map. Seriously? I have to go back again? No, God. Okay, I need a better way. Someone who knows VI, because I always keep forgetting how to set markers. Thank you, Pickpocket, for telling me that when you leave. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I'll see you next time. Yeah, Dexy, maybe I will become a mafia boss. I prefer the sniper, the how do you call those guys? People that shoot other people from a distance for payment. My memory is degrading so fast that I probably will not be able to finish this project. It's my feeling. In Dutch it's sluipmoordenaar, and at least I know that. Okay, so type it again. Device. Jump again to wherever we were. And then I have to find it again. It was good to do it like this. And now I want to set a marker here. And I think the marker is set with... yeah, with a single quote, or is that a jump? Maybe an @ sign. @ or single quote. Maybe help marker. Markers and text. Fold starts. No, that's not what I want. Then just going the ampersand one. Nope. Apparently not. Back stick one. Nope, that jumps back. That's probably the jump. How do you set a marker? I have a question for you, and I want you to be honest about how much money you earn when you have devoted your whole life to programming. Nothing. I have no professional job. I do this the whole day, but nobody's paying me for it. On the positive side, I can do exactly what I want. No deadlines and stuff. I think that having a job where you get paid is a lot more stressful. I don't like stress. M. Backtick is going back, or jump to a marker, enter an apostrophe, or a backtick, both work. And setting is with an M. Well, should be able to remember that. So I'm going to do M1, and then now we can jump back. Let's put a marker here as well, M2. So okay, so I wanted to go here, and then I need to unlock this thing. Read or write. We start with read access because that doesn't block too much yet. Read access. So this takes the read lock and gives me access to that map. Read access, and then I can do find in it. So I don't know. That's result is this is the map. Find, and I have to find the sorted. Vector. No, that's nonsense. This returns an iterator. Yeah, I'm using Linux, and this is Arch. I do not recommend Arch for beginners, Linux beginners. So yeah, Ubuntu would be a better choice. Of Kubuntu if you like KDE. Ubuntu is GNOME, and Kubuntu, the K in front of it, is uses a +/KDE as a default desktop. Guess there's not much other difference. Okay, guys, it gets interesting, I think, and complex. So what I did here is RAT stands for read access type, which is so the descriptor set layouts type here is a wrapper, AI thread save, I wrote that, wrapper around the container, which is defined here, using a mutex policy that is read-write. So you can do a read access that locks the mutex for reading. This thing does not give any access. In fact, it's just a character array. It's just a hidden memory that you can do nothing with. But after creating this, I both have it locked for read access, and I can use it by like this, using the pointer operator, which then gives me a pointer to the type in the container. So I have to go back here again to look what that was, and that is this. That I get a pointer to the map. Having the pointer to the map, we can call find on it with the vector, which is the key. Now let's hope that find takes the key by const reference. I think so. Shall we look it up? I mean, even if it's not the case, then I would still keep it like that. Something marks. Yeah, let's go back to oh no, what, here is it, standard map. Empty size swap insert. Where's my find? Here. Takes a const reference. How on earth can they still write const key reference? I think you should read. You must read types always from right to left. And it is a reference to a const key. So it is key const ampersand. Only the right way, I think, to think about it and to write it. Anyway, it is a const reference, so okay, we do not pass the key CQ the vector by value. I'm happy. If that finds it, then we don't do this, and we just return we dereference. It's not first anymore. This is just iter. We dereference the iterator, which then gives us the element, which is a unique descriptor set layout handle, and then if you dereference that, well, it's not a handle, but whatever it is, the unique thing, and then dereference that again, that gives us the handle. But if the key does not exist, then we have to create a new layout and insert it. And we create it from from the same vector. And no, this is not going to work because I still have to generate the bindings. The bindings I actually ignored for... let me show what I'm talking about. Blah, blah, blah. This is a vector of these things here. What? Broken shit. So this has a binding member. So lots more coding and changing afterwards. But right now I have the binding values hard-coded. I ignore them while sorting. So I might find an existing one which is exactly the same, but the binding number is different. And then I use that anyway. So this is not going the way it should. Maybe you get validation errors. So at least then if I remember that, then I know what is causing that. I might add a fix me just in case, you know. Fix me, the binding values might not be set or correct. Okay, so we have here create descriptor set layout. That creates it and that returns the unique pointer. And that unique pointer then, do it like this first. Just gonna call it layout, it's a local variable anyway. Now I have to put this layout into my map, which means I need write access. So I have to convert the read access to a write access. Now I can just unlock the read lock, the read write lock, but the only way I can do that is by destroying this thing. That's not easy. And sometimes, even in this case, I think it's not correct. Say I would unlock it. At that moment, another thread could get the lock on the read lock. And then this thread that just unlocked the read thread tries to get the write thread and fails. So it's going to hang on trying to get the write lock. And the other thread then maybe does the same thing as this thread wants to do. Namely, it sees that the key does not exist and then creates it and inserts it in the map. And then it unlocks everything again, and then the first thread starts to run again, gets the write lock and adds the same key again. And then we have the same key twice, and that's totally not the idea, of course. So no, we must convert the read lock to a write lock. And my library does that. I can just do a write access type, and I can construct it from the read access type. However, this might hang. Well, you could get a deadlock theoretically, because you can only get a write lock when all the read locks are gone. So if we have a read lock and we want to convert it to a write lock, then that's only allowed because I know that my read lock, you know, is being converted. But all the other read locks must be released, of course. Now suppose there are two threads that both want to convert a read lock into a write lock. Then both have a read lock, and both wait until the other one has released the read lock so they can convert their read lock into a write lock. So that gives a deadlock. My library detects that and then throws an exception. And the way to solve that is, God knows, I mean, I wrote it, but as you should know by now, I don't have a memory. So I'm going to look for the documentation that I wrote about this. Something with try and catch. Try catch. Yeah, here's a canonical example. So you do try and I get a read log. And then I convert it to a write log, and that might throw. If it throws, we come into the catch. Then we have to call read to write yield. And then continue before where we took try to get the read log. So the throw must leave the scope of the read access time. Can I remember that? No, I cannot remember this, but I think I can remember the rest. And this is just a standard exception apparently. Okay. Yeah, let's try that. So before where I took the read log, I need a try. And then we do this, and then the scope ends there. So here I do a catch for the standard exception. Constructors. And that then calls, I guess on this. And then I must go to the top. So why not use the same thing for? When people ask for what computer I use, I always say, you don't want to know. Well, I have a picture of it. Can I show you a picture of my computer? Hold on. Let me find it. I thought I posted a picture somewhere. I think I posted it in Discord, but that might be so long ago that I cannot find it back anymore. So that should go into off topic. I have a better idea. It should be here. In. Or is it saved messages? Yeah, there it is. Now, of course, this is not viewable. You cannot see it, or you can see it. But the bottom got cut off. I currently have a fourth monitor on the top thing here, so there's another monitor here at the moment. You see here a hole in the table. I made the table myself. This is a hole. And you can just see here on the edge a piece of wood with a keyboard on it. This can slide backwards and forwards, riding over a curtain rail, which is under the table made here. So that is easy on the wrist and the arms. I relax my arms, and then the gravity does the rest and moves the keyboard back and forward until it sits at the right place. But okay, you wanted to know how much RAM I have and stuff. I think I have 64 gigabyte RAM. I have an RTX 280 Super. Starting to get old. These days you have 3080 or 4080 already. And I have, well, yeah, I don't know, 32 threads. When I bought it, it was the best, and now it's already many years old, you know. I don't know about rich. I don't have a car, I don't smoke, I never go out, I hardly go buy new clothes. Basically, I don't spend any money except on my computer. And for a good reason, because that's my life. I just sit here. This is my cockpit. I only sit behind my computer. I would be pretty stupid if I would be irritated by how slow my computer was or anything like that. So can use, yeah. So we can use continue. I am bad at names, so I don't know anyone personally. I also doesn't really say anything to me. I can look him up on Google if you want, and I know at least who you mean. But Google, who is Andrew Tate? He looks more rich than me. He sits in a boat. It's probably his boat. I have more hair. Kickboxer. That has nothing to do with me. Is this Andrew Tate you mean? I should be making YouTube maybe about other things. I studied physics and I did mathematics, electronics and computers, of course. And I know a lot of psychology, so I helped kids mostly, be a mentor or other stuff. But I don't have the patience, I think, to make a good YouTube. I mean, something with real content that you can look at and say, "Wow, you know, that's good, explained." I don't know. Or I could, I would say I could start a TikTok channel, but I think I have the personality for it, but definitely not the looks. You need to be handsome and young to make it as a internet personality. I'm neither. Yes, I sit in the Vulkan Discord. Same name, Carlo Wood. Okay, so try, get the read log, find if it exists, if it not exists, create it. After creating it, try to get write log. That seems like a waste, but I don't want to keep the write log a very long time, because as long as I have the write log, then read logs are blocked. So I rather put a lot of time into creating it, while others can do the same thing, other threads, and then only one thread can get the write log. Oh wait, other threads can do the same thing. No, that's nonsense. No, wait. Huh? What? Suppose two threads enter at the same time with the same key. They can both take the read log. So they both get here. And they look it up and they both see that the key does not exist. Therefore, they both get here. Then they both want to create it. Now, if both try to get the write log, it throws and one has to start again, but doesn't have to do that. One could hang here or idle here, doing something mysterious. For example, doing this. Both create a new descriptor set layout. Only one gets a write log, inserts it, and releases the write log. Might completely exit the whole function. And then the other thread gets CPU again and also gets the write log and also inserts it. So it still can be the case that after getting the write log, the key exists again, still, anyway. I have to detect it, but yeah, so okay, so let's do that way. So take the write log as late as possible. It wouldn't even help to do it here. I mean, then the race condition is much less likely, but it can still happen. It could be that two threads execute this line, and then one doesn't, is interrupted, and the other one goes to the end, and then that one starts running again and does the same thing. So just the same thing. So it really doesn't matter. They always can be two threads that try to get the write log, although not exactly at the same time. So okay, I get the write log, and now the key could exist again. So we have to check again if the key exists. Let's add a comment for that. So the key might now exist because another thread added it in the meantime. Now that's not true. The other thread could not have added it in the meantime. That's not possible. Oh yeah, but it's not possible. You can only get the write log when no other threads have the read log. So this does not happen. No, it's nonsense. If two threads do not find the key and they enter here, then both have the read log. So whichever thread tries to get the write log is hanging here, waiting till the other thread is releasing the read log. So if I keep this order, they will both create it, and then both try to convert the read log into a write log, and then one of them will throw, releasing the read log. So that goes to the top again. And because it throws, the unique pointer is destructed again, and the created layout is destroyed again. So it works. It works like this. And I think I still want to have the write log very short time. So I'm gonna keep this order, I think. So this is nonsense. Okay, so only one gets here, and it's guaranteed that the key does not exist, so we can just insert it now. Well, that's our map pointer, and I want to insert it and place, I think. Standard move, the layout. Let's add it to the map, and then I leave this scope where that converts the write lock into a read lock again, I think. Or not. Let's have another look at the documentation that I wrote there. It doesn't say. Now, of course, you can, after destructing the write lock, if you go out of scope here, you destroy both, the what and the red. I don't know. No, I would have to look at the code, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna look for it. This is the write access type. You can find that. That is the this template, write access. If that is created from a read access, you have the status already read locked. Then we convert read to write lock. And the state is set to read to write locked. And in the destructor of this thing, there was a destructor of write access. Write access, read access. I don't see a destructor, so the destructor of the base class is only used. The base class is read access. It also does not have a destructor, I bet. Nope. So then we get a const read access, the base class of that. That has a destructor, and that then sees that it was read to write locked, so it calls write to read lock. Okay, finally we have it. So after destruction, when leaving this scope here, we only destructed the what, and then we have a write lock again, a read lock again. Although who cares, because then we leave this, but in theory you could read it again here. Well, now it looks good, I guess. It's not going to compile because the map, both the find that I do here and the in place, want to do a compares on the key. So if I go here again, page not found, what? No, then not. This one, yeah. Say I do Now I'm distracted because it says fat key and my key is super fat, so I have to read this. Here we have a fat key, which is meaning big. As detailed above, the container must use standard less or other transparent comparator to access these overloads. This includes standard overloads, such as between standard string and standard string view. Yeah. So for example, in this case, they use standard less here, with no template argument, which is the same as void, I think, as the comparator. And the result is then that the compare function will call the comparator between the keys immediately, which, for example, is needed when you compare strings with string view. I ran into that a few days ago. But yeah, in this case, we want to compare vectors. We want to compare the same type, and might as well use standard less than, or another comparator. And I think I'm going to need it. But what is the story about the fat key here? So we have a comparator here for the fat key. That is a relatively light, it only compares X. The keys are passed by console reference, so they're not making a copy. Oh, this is comparing fat key with the light key. Okay. So that's why they use they need to use this, because they're different types. But in my case, I only want to compare two fat keys, so yeah. Probably no difference there then. I need to add a comparator here for the vector anyway. And I had a descriptor set layout binding compare or something like that. Nope. Oh, I left off the descriptor part, I think. And the set part. Yeah, yes. Layout binding compare. In this case, I have a vector of that. Let's add vector here then. So, layout binding vector compare. Good enough, I think. So I'll just add it here. Going to add that. Uh, I could have if I had not suffered from panic attacks. But the fact is that during my teenage years, something went horrible wrong. And I suffered a great deal of my life from severe panic attacks, making it impossible for me to work in the end. Although I did get a PhD and stuff, but I worked 1.5 years in a research department of an IT company, and then I got into what is the word, welfare, I guess. So I could not work because of psychological problems. And I already had panic attacks since I was 12 as well. But at that time, the psychology people had no idea what it was. And the medicine didn't exist. Now those medicines exist, and I take them, and I don't have panic attacks anymore. But in the meantime, I'm so old that nobody would want to hire me. And if I would say ask for a job at NASA, then they're not going to look at what I did on the internet as an open source programmer. It's just not how it works. They're going to say, okay, show me who you worked for. You know, there's more than just knowing how to program. You must show that you can work for a company, have experience with a team, did all kinds of projects in a company, which is really different than working for yourself at home, I guess. So I don't think I would get a job at this point. I'm 58. I still sometimes get emails, and sometimes, maybe every few years, of some company who is interested, or a headhunter mostly, quasi-interested in me, and then want me to come for a talk. You know, I have to fly to California or something like that to to have an interview, and I always decline because it's nothing. My life is over, so I'm gonna end it like this. No job. I wish things would have been different. If when I was, say, 15, I would have gotten the medicine that I needed, and the help, everything, like they do now for kids that have the same problems, I would probably have lived in a freestanding house somewhere, yeah, with a big salary. Pretty sure of that. And not just because I can code, but if I do tests, I score off the scale usually. Intelligent tests and that kind of thing. I think after my PhD, I was interested in getting a job as a C++ coder, and I didn't really know C++ yet. So I started to do a course with a job guarantee. It was you had to do a course of something, and it existed of a lot of tests. If you made a test, then you would get into that course, and then at the end of the course they gave you the job guarantee. So I did that test, and then they refused me. They said, you don't need our course, you can get a job anywhere you want. Yeah, funny. They didn't want me because I scored too high. Seriously. Same thing. I had it at the university when I was, I guess, 23 or something, 24. I did a test for what is it called? A job test, to find out what kind of job you should go for or something like that. So I did a test, and they told me afterwards, so they looked at it, I don't know, 2 days later I had to come there, and they said, literally, I quote, you can do anything you want as long as you're motivated. So yeah. I guess I could have become a lawyer. I don't think so though, because I've never had a really good memory. I don't think I would have been able to study medicine or something like that, or because of my memory. What is this? How do you compare two vectors? Left hand side and right hand size. Otherwise, we can run over both. Let me do left hand side iterator is left hand side begin. There must be an easier way. Why am I coding this myself? This should already exist, right? Compare to vector. Shall we look it up? C++ compare to vectors. How to compare to vectors. I don't want to flicker up. I don't want to know if they are equal. I want to know if they are less than. Equal. We really only talk about equal here. That's too much equals. Going to write it myself. And then they are equal, which means that they're not less than. Yeah, immediately C++, definitely. And it really matters if you do a good course or a bad one. There are super bad ones out there. A good side is, well, not too bad side, is learnc++.com. So, well, let me reload this. I'm interested in anyone reacted. Well, okay, I'll read it, but wait, okay, learn cpp.com, I think. Yeah, so yeah, I just kept getting started and started basics. The problem is, of course, that it is a lot and not everything is interesting. A lot. So you want to get at the end in, say, 3 months time. So I would make an agenda, put in your agenda that, let's say, 1 paragraph per day, but in the end it gets more difficult. So maybe faster in the beginning. And if you are not able to do, well, it's more than 30 things. This is 23, a whole chapter per day, thus, yeah. No, wait, I said 3 months. So 3 days per chapter. And then I mean work in the weekends as well. And that means that, and then faster in the beginning, okay? And that means that you are allowed to read over a diagonal, you know. You just open something, floating point numbers, float double, long double, the sizes, examples. Okay, well, this is new for me. I didn't know you could, well, not for me, but, you know, I speak for you. I didn't know you could initialize them like that. Memorize this, interesting. This is how you write out. And then, you know, this is the speed that you can read. Yeah, or another example. Yeah, I don't even have to read this. You just look at the code, is good enough. There cannot be anything else. It's just going about float and bool, and for what is it, float and double. And the examples should show everything. So the text is not important. However, then at some point you get to the end, and then you do not want to go immediately to the next lesson, you want to try it. So then you open an editor, and you copy the code, or if you better, then you type it in from memory. You maybe even while reading it, you already think about something, like you're here and you think, oh, that's interesting, I can make floats and initialize them, and I can write them out. So I'm going to write a program that adds 1 plus 1.5 plus 2 plus 2.5 plus 3 plus, you know, something like that. While you're reading, you make up a goal, a little program that you can write that's interesting in your mind, and that will allow you to practice what you're reading. And then you write it, and then you put most of your time into getting that to work. But not too much time again, because you have to go on and finish the whole bloody chapter in 3 days. And so on. That's how I would do it. And then afterwards, you're not a guru, you just have tasted a little bit of the things that exist. And if you want to take more time, well, okay. As long as you are coding, you know. Try it out. Try things out. It's the code that is important. If you have a directory with all kinds of things that you wrote, and that you can compile and run, then you can grab back to that. And then later, a moment, you think, how was that again? You cannot look at the website. You will not even find it again. But you still remember exactly what program you wrote and where that program is. And then you can look at your own program as a reference to refresh your memory. You'll never be finished with learning C++. There's no next. Oh, you mean once you get through the whole learncplus.com? Yeah, at some point you have to start writing larger programs. I mean, if you know all the syntax, so that's what I just said, that's why you should not spend more than 3 months on it. You know a little bit of all the syntax. Then you have to start to learn libraries, existing libraries, and how to use them. That's also a shitload of documentation. Every library has a lot of documentation that you also have to read and use. If you don't use it, You cannot remember it. Maybe most young people they have the goal to write a game, three-dimensional game. No, not in C++. Forget it. If you work really hard and you're really good, then maybe in 10 years you can start to think about writing a game. So that would not be a good goal to start with. If you want to write a game super fast, then write it in Unity or something like that. But then it's a hobby, if you ask me. Okay, so while the left-hand side iterator is not at the end, yeah, I need to compare for, where's my compare? What the fuck? Let's call it less, because that's sort of how I implemented it. It's not really less though. Whatever. I'll call it like that. But say if the left-hand side is less than the right-hand side, then we can return true. And if the right-hand side is less than the left-hand side, we can return false. And otherwise we have to go to the next element, because if then they are considered equal. So this should compare to vectors, right? Yeah, I think you can learn anything you want from YouTube. I hate YouTube. They're politically absolutely horrible. Too much censorship. But maybe they don't have a choice. The whole world is going to shit. You want to know more about that? Let me find the link for that. This one. What the fuck? I copy it. Copy link. And go here. Paste. Yeah, okay. If you want to know what's going on in the world, this is a really to the point, excellent video from a very smart guy who's normally only doing research related to crypto. Recently, he's also into macroeconomics. And well, he explains about what's going on in the world and all these incredible censorship that you see in all social media in the last years are related to this, which is why I have started to dislike YouTube a lot, because they do it too. They just delete people's accounts and hide videos and make them unsearchable or delete them. Whenever you say anything that goes against the World Economic Forum agenda and that of all the governments. But you could call it political, except that it is going to influence your life extremely and the life of your kids if they win. So I think it's super important. But if we call it just politics, then yeah, okay. Then YouTube still has a lot of YouTubes that you can really learn something from. The biggest danger of YouTube is that you click on the wrong video and then watch it, and then click on the next thing that they advise to you, which is on the same topic, and before you know it, you're watching videos of kittens or whatever. You know, you have to be really persistent in only wanting to click on and watch things about science and stuff like that. If you do that, then at some point you only get interesting stuff being... I made a list, actually. Maybe it still helps. It's getting pretty old. But at some point I made a list on YouTube. Let me see if I can find it back. That would get you on track with getting interesting I cannot think of the word. What is the word? Well, it's not here. Liked videos. Oh yeah, see this bitch here, but I liked it because they're talking her down. Greta, 2030, Greta is going to say, yeah, I was young and ignorant and incredibly stupid. I don't know, man. Maybe I started on a different account. I have multiple internet personalities, as to say. What do you think? Is this going to compile? Probably not. I still need to fix the map, right? So we have to go here. Oh no, it is already there. But I doubt that we have the right namespace. Descriptor. Okay. Well, right now I am doing fixing compile errors. And you always have to start with the first error. So I scroll up, even though it looks like it repeats the same error millions of times. Looking at the first error. And it says, use of undeclared identifier right-hand side iterator. Did you mean left-hand side iterator? Oh, really? Yeah, let's compare left-hand side with the left-hand side. Stupid compiler. Well, maybe I should have named it not twice left-hand side. It's even more stupid. Here we go again. To the top, and it says Use of undeclared identifier right hand side. Now I'm pissed off. Did I scroll up too far or what? Don't think so. No. Oh, I put the R there. It should have been like this. Right hand side iterator. Finally got it right. I copied it here, so the same thing. There must be a right hand side iterator. Now I got it right. Did I? Left hand, right hand, yeah, okay. Oh, that's such a hard question, Dexy. Because I'm biased. I mean, I don't have Windows. I hate Microsoft. I never had Windows. So of course I'm going to tell you to use Ubuntu. And, you know, definitely use VI as editor. But I'm biased and I'm not working for a company. So if you're learning this, come on, you should learn this because you like to learn it as a hobby. Certainly at the beginning. I don't know how much is going to bite you if you do not conform to what companies want from you. But do you really want to do something that is worse or bad or that you don't like because your boss wants you to or your company wants you to? So my advice is still then use Linux and just use NeoVim as editor. That's a whole can of shit on its own. So the NeoVim is the name of the editor. Learning that is difficult. But yeah, sooner or later you will have to learn that if you want to become a productive programmer. Now, do you need to know that if you use Windows? Probably not. I'll be so kind to look that up for you, although you could or should do that yourself. So does Windows support or have Vim? How to run the Vim text editor in PowerShell. How do you run Vim in Windows? No, they don't support it, but you can install it as open source shit, I guess. It's not looking good. What you really want is, of course, to have the IDE that they then use. So, and I don't even know how they call that. How do they call their nonsense? Visual C++, something like that. Is this a term? I don't know, man. Well, I don't even know how they call those things. Well, Windows has their own IDE, and then they have their own editor built in. So what they should have is a possibility to use NeoVim as a plugin, as a replacement editor. But I don't think they do that. Microsoft doesn't care less. So they will just have their own shit. Maybe you want to do some research, but if you ask me, yes, Vim is or NeoVim, then the replacement is definitely the best editors, definitely. But also, yeah, a high entrance level. It's not easy to learn. mean, it's easy to learn if you ask me, but you need, you need the nerve connections in your spine and in your brain. It's like learning to type blind, or learning to type without looking at the keyboard. Touch typing, I think is the right word. Knowing where the keys are is not enough. You have to, it must, go automatically, and that takes a lot of practice. S does everything. Like that first Veritasium link that I gave. Explains. What is the bloody error now? I'm scrolling up till here, and then we read use of undeclared identifier descriptor. Do you mean descriptor? There's an S missing. In this case, they are correct. Yeah, Visual Studio, that was it. Well, if you want to tie yourself the rest of your life and also in your youth to Microsoft, go ahead. I think they still ask for money for everything. Or you can use Linux or Ubuntu, dus. And get everything for free and better. Just still not for some reason what everyone is using. Most of the other people are using. Although, I think there's maybe the majority is using Linux by this time. It's a really big amount of people that use Linux for development. It is a benefit, though. I have to admit that it is a benefit to know both. So if you can write a program and make it immediately portable to the three platforms, Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, then you will get a much larger user base than when you can only support one of them. So in that sense, it doesn't really matter where you start with, because you have to learn them all three anyway. I'm not paying attention. What was the error? Use of undeclared identifier descriptor set layouts type. Which is defined in logical device, and this is synchronous window. That's slightly problematic because I think it is not public, this type. And here I need it again. How many do I using? Logical device. I even forgot if this works or not. It's gonna complain anyway about being private. Yeah, I thought so. I don't know why this not works, because it's more logical than this. No type name descriptor set layouts type in task logical device. Descriptor setup this private member. Told you so. Okay, so you write, and I have to install Ubuntu on VirtualBox so that I can use Windows at the same time. It seems to me that it would be if you use a virtual machine, I would do it the other way around. So install Linux and then run Windows in a virtual machine. And yeah, dual boot would work as well, but less well, because yeah, you can only run one at a time indeed, not both at the same time. I think Linux is by far more stable and more powerful and stuff like that. So if you run that as a host and then run Windows in a virtual machine, and then you can say open a window that runs in Windows if you need it, and only if you need it. Do as much as you can on Linux anyway. It is kind of annoying that this is a private type. Could make it public, but I don't want to. And I don't want to because it feels wrong. Instead, I should move the functionality that I'm trying to implement into this class instead of where it is now. And the functionality is looking it up. Yeah, basically the whole function, right? Okay, so after all, it turned out that it had to be definitely has to be in logical device instead. That's a completely wrong class. Last time I checked, RAM was still cheap in my eyes, and 8 GB is yeah. I don't know, man. I don't think it's enough for a dual running a virtual machine. If you're gonna run 2 operating systems at the same time, no. But depends on your budget and the money, I guess. But I don't know what the price of the RAM has done during the last few years. Yeah, if your hard disk is large enough, and it should be, because Windows itself, runs on a few gigabytes with a hard disk space, and on a little bit, more. Give your sister, I don't know, 60 gigabytes. I would make it a dual boot. Completely separate the Windows that you use and your sister is using. So you boot it up, you get a dual boot. If you pick Linux, you have to type a password, so your sister cannot get in. So she has to choose the Windows, and then that's her Windows. And if you boot your Linux, then you can run another version of Windows in a virtual machine. That only costs you hard disk space, but yeah, I think it's worth it. Not be bothered by your sister on your own computer. Don't know what she's doing on the computer. Maybe she doesn't even need 60 gigabytes or anything close to that. I'll look it up. The standard requires a flat of 32 gigabytes of space. Wow, that's a lot more than I thought. How much space do you need to run Windows 10? So yeah, I would definitely double that then at least. You really need 64 gigabytes at least, apparently. Is it your computer? Well, did you pay for it, or is it somehow really your computer in your bedroom? I have no idea how that works. And share a PC with someone else. If you want to, yeah, but if say you start to be really serious. I mean, I'm not saying that will happen, but imagine you start to be really serious with programming, and as soon as you come home, you run to your room and you fire up your PC, and then the whole evening you are sitting behind the PC. That's what I did, right? So And then your sister says, can I use the PC? I have to play a tournament or League of Legends. And you say, no, I'm using my PC myself. And then your sister goes to your parents and she complains. I can never use his PC anymore for playing a game. He's always using it. Then what will your parents say? If it's your PC, they should say, well, buy your PC, so you have your own PC. That's what you want, of course. But if your parents will say, Daxi, let your sister on the PC, then it's not really your PC, but you have to share it with your sister. Yeah, that seems best then. Otherwise, if it's really your PC, I would, use 100 gigabyte or so of your 1 terabyte disk. So this 10% for your sister, and the rest then for you. But if you really have to share it in a more fair way, then you can make a dual boot. Damn it, I forgot what I was doing. Maybe I should stop streaming because I'm erratic. Well, I moved this to a different file. Yeah, so did I get a compiler? Probably. Member reference type vulkan logical device descriptor set layouts type aka mem wrapper map blah 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 is not a pointer. Did you mean to use dot? I think I meant neither, but let's have a look at the source code. I meant R. Obviously. Did you mean underscore R? No, it's not asking that. You were asking so many difficult questions. You're still at school. That's very important. You should get high grades. And then there is probably not that much time left to program. So yeah. I program from when I get up till I go to bed. 7 days a week, except on Sunday afternoon. I go to my parents. And on Tuesday afternoon I get a visitor. Sometimes I'm so tired about everything that I do not sit behind my PC, and then I lay down on the floor somewhere, well, with a thick something below it, under a tablet. Tablet hangs in the air. It's super lazy, and I play on my tablet chess and Risk. Yeah, and maybe other games, or I watch YouTubes there. So maybe a couple of hours a day I do that instead of programming. Really, the most important thing is that you just like it. If you're super motivated, you feel like, yay, I can continue again, you know, and fire up the computer and continue with this super interesting project that you're working on, then everything will be automatically okay. You don't have to worry about how much time you put into it. Using provides you to dispose a variable. No, it's a type. I didn't want to have to type this twice. So I'm using it here and here. So I can delete this whole line and then copy this part to this line and this line. And it's totally random that I didn't do that. I didn't want to do that in this case. I forgot again what I was doing. Use your undeclared identifier logical device. Did you mean logical device? No. This is logical device. Using is replacing the old type def. So I don't know if you are an older guy who learned with type def. You had type def say int my int, and now you write my int is int. These do the same thing, and you can forget about type def because yeah, it's just replaced. And using is more powerful. You can only also use it for templates, which was not possible with the type def. Okay, this requires a debug name. It is always the question how to pass a debug name when I don't know which window it is. Get things passed. Probably smarter to search for debug set name instead and then look for something that is not getting past a debug name as an ambifix, which might not exist. So if I pass an ambifix, it just concatenates the prefix and the postfix and uses that as a string to set debug object name. So I might as well pass a string, which is this one. And yeah. What is this pointer doing? Oh, that is a logical device. Yeah, it has to be passed. Okay. So in this case, I think I can only pass an ambifix. And this takes an ambifix. So I just need to pass whatever the constructor of ambifix requires, which is a string. Or prefix and the postfix. Which is kind of silly, so I'm just going to pass a string, I guess. Yeah, theoretically I would have to print the whole key here if I want to do it precisely, but I don't. This might bite me later, but I don't know. Yeah, right. Indirection requires pointer operand. Okay, you have me. What the hell is going on? In direction? Oh, it's a map, of course. Yeah, well, wait a minute. It is a map. So dereference, I get a pair of a vector and the unique thingy. Okay, so you need either a blip second. No matching function for call to construct add. In instantiation of function template specialization blah requested here. Requested here. Requested here, requested here, requested here, requested here. Are we back to my code yet? No. It does not want to. Oh, we do here. In instantiation of function template specialization on standard map, standard vector, blah, blah, blah. Requested here. Okay, so it doesn't know how to construct content from this thing here. That makes sense. I think that makes sense. Because I'm not even telling it what the key is. I think if you use try in place, you can actually pass the key separately as an argument. Oh, I was going to read this. It interests me. Where is my thingy here? Is it turned on? GitHub. And this guy says, I agree this is lacking the useful information you want from the validation error. So a while ago a nice new log object list struct was added, so we could do log object list module state vk shader module object list add pipeline layout skip or what log error blah, blah, blah. But not every error message has been updated yet. But just push the PR up to address the shader validation to print out better object handling information. Well, that's nice. Okay. Why did I close it? I keep my tabs open because I want to maybe look at it again. How do you descriptor set? Should read this again, I guess. I should read it 100 times. Maybe then it will stick in my memory. I don't think I have any tab open anymore. And I forgot what I wanted to I was going to look up. Oh yeah, that. So I want to go to cppreference.com. Hello, Flowy. Can you make some tutorials? You have tremendous knowledge. I feel flattered. But I feel I don't have time to do that. I want to finish this project. So we need an insert or an in place that accepts the key as well. Of course, they all do. But if I would use insert, you have to insert the value type, which is then standard pair of the key, and etc. And I think that if I do in place, which I was using now, you get to do also construct a new element, standard pair also const. Standard pair key, etc. In place hint is even worse, I think. And then I have to pass an int, a hint. But a try in place is interesting. You can just pass the key as an argument. This looks nice. Even though I know for sure that this is going to succeed. So what I can do is I use try in place, because it's the only interface that allows me to pass the key here, which is then obviously what I try to find. And this has a return value, I think, which I don't need to look at because it is always going to succeed. I really can't type, at least the underscore. This is not the correct one. Assert here is defined when CW debug is defined to 1. Which means I have to use this debug only. Which does not get a color. That's weird. I don't think a MacBook is very good for coding. It's a niche thing. Some people swear by Apple. But open source often cannot even find Mac coders to help. It's not that many people that have it and that work on that. It's too specialized. So no. Unless you can install Linux on a MacBook. No member named try and place the Descriptor set layout in tasks synchronous. I know. I don't know, Flowy. If you ask me, do you recommend college? Man, that depends on so many things. If you're intelligent, you should do university, yes. If you can do it, I guess. But don't ask me which direction. Depends completely on so many other things, and I know. I didn't do computer science anyway. If you want to make money, then also don't do that. I think making money is in your character. Or you can start reading those books, you know, like How to Think Like a Rich Man or something like that. Seem to be good books that have made people rich just by knowing how the system works. But you need to be the entrepreneur type. And if you are the coder, the programmer type, then you'll never get rich. It's just not in your genes. Well, you could say, and what about Bill Gates? Well, he could code a bit, and he definitely was an entrepreneur. I was going to say went over dead bodies. So what is the expression? To get rich. But hey, I'm a fan of Elon Musk. He is saving the world in my eyes. Saving humanity. If they let him. Member reference type const vulkan logical device pointer is a pointer. Did you mean to use that? Okay, everything is a pointer these days. We are at 100%. Still not compiling. This argument to member function try and place descriptor set layout as const vulkan logical device function, but it's not marked const. Shit. Okay, and dirty trick, please close your eyes. I'm going to do something dirty. No, I asked a lot of really good programmers that I know when they started coding, and they all say 12. That's why I said it. Me included. I started also at 12. Maybe it's not necessary, but it's more like showing how fanatic they are. You know, if as a kid you're 12, you see a PC and you think, ah, wow, that's it, and you start coding and you never stop. Then you have a certain personality, and if someone managed to ignore computers till they are older, then apparently they are not the same, and they do not have the same personality as being, obsessed with computers. And that then is maybe the reason that they do not become guru coders. But if you have another reason why you did not start at 12, but you do start at 16, then I guess it doesn't really make that much of a difference. As long as you have a good memory and you are motivated and smart and stuff like that. And then it's early enough. Man, I should stop because, or at least I cannot talk and think at the same time, apparently. This argument, yeah, okay, I was going to do the dirty thing. So we go here, and then I go here, and then I do... Or not. Or not. What the hell? That's how I did it. Okay, good, take care. Now, even though I said it is dirty, I'll explain what I just did. So this function is not const, but I add const anyway. Why? Well, the reason is an invention of my own, which not everybody likes. Namely, that if you say you have an object with a state and different threads are accessing that object, then if all the threads are only having read access, then there is no problem to access that object. Now, read access means const access. So you have a const pointer to that object. Then you cannot change the object. So a const pointer means read access. And multiple threads can read that object without locking. They can read at the same time, concurrently. So there is a link between thread safety and constness. Const access can, in a certain way, be equated to thread safeness. So the reason I'm making it const is to tell my program that it is okay to have concurrent access. If it is const, then nothing is changed. If nothing is changed, then it's okay to be accessed by multiple threads at the same time. So I add between comments that it is a thread safe const. So it's not really const, it does make changes, but it makes only changes after locking a mutex. Therefore, if multiple threads are calling this function, then that's okay. Now I wish there was a different keyword for it, but C++ doesn't have that keyword, so I'm just using const. Don't try that at your job. They won't like it, I guess, I think. But I do more really weird stuff. Anyway, now it should compile. That's what you want, no? I was already at 100%. Now we are at 75%. I bet it's gonna skip at once to 100, but it doesn't. It went to 82 and then it didn't compile anymore. Why? Hello, Koha123. This is problematic here. We have again a problem. I think in the last hour I've only been trying to get it to compile. Oh, yeah, okay. That is certainly a problem. I made it const, but by making it const, I cannot get a write log. The write log, the library, my read write log library is that's called AI thread safe. It does not have the same idea about constness. It says, oh, this is const, and you're not allowed to get write access. I could get the read access, if I can make a C read here from this. That is allowed, and I still have read access. But I cannot convert it to write access. So I need a read, so I can convert it to write access. And I can only do that when it is not const. Yeah, well, that kind of makes sense then, of course. I mean, my constness was correct, and I got the read access only. But no, we cannot do that. Okay. Guess I'll remove it again. Really, jumping all over the place. So now the problem is that I want to call this, and it is not const. Actually, there's even more dirty way to approach this. Shall I go even more dirty? Yeah, why not? Maximum dirty. So I add it back. And then this red doesn't work. And this probably also not. The read to write yield is also non-const. But what if I make it mutable? Insane laughter. that worked. Well, I think it's necessary to add a commenter. Okay. So now instead of creating the descriptor layout directly here and always, I'm calling owning window logical device try and place the descriptor set layout. And that then should create it. And that would be this function. What it does is that it looks it up in a map and only creates it when it does not already exist, and if it does already exist, it returns the same layout handle, which not necessarily works because the bindings values might be wrong. But then again, maybe it already works for this test application. And then we made at least a start with the cache. I'm gonna make it again, even though I only changed the comment. Nope, not working. Well, that's annoying. Oh, wait a minute. It is very late. I have to go to bed. So I stopped the stream anyway, although it doesn't work. The script set layout is 0. So, well, something went wrong. I'll have to look at it tomorrow. So maybe see you then. Good night.